It's a great honor and a privilege to introduce Shoshana Singer Brayer. We're here in your lovely home in Jerusalem. And Shoshana,
my previous name was Singer. Singer, yeah.
And you wrote this amazing book called Childhood Lost.
Right.
And Shoshana, if you could just tell us a little bit about your family. They came, I know, from Lublin.
When? From what time?
When you were born, but who your parents were.
Okay. So I was born in Slovakia. I have a beautiful story, but do you have
Sure.
Yeah? My father, he was a very learned man, very serious man. There were, I think, 6 boys and 7 boys, no girls, when the mother died. So they just, every son, every boy went to a different place. They wanted to leave Poland because it's a very, very hard time making a living. And if you have children, it was very, very hard. So my father, then there came a rumor that many people went to Eretz Israel from Europe, from Hungary, from Slovakia. And my father was very much interested in going also to, what will you do there? He will find Parnassa. Just let him leave Poland. That was his main wish, you know. So, but you can, my mother had already 2, 3 children. You don't just take little babies and go to a strange and faraway place. So my father decided he will go there and he will see. If it fits him right away, he will come, take the mother with the 3, 4 children, and they will go to Israel. And so the first place he went to through Bratislava. There the boat left to Israel. And as it was, so he went through Bratislava. He stopped there and he stayed for a few days. And so he was aware that a Jew doesn't know the language, doesn't know anybody, to a shul. He heard a shul davening, he went there. And the people right away realized he was a good-looking man and very nice. He was, people very liked him very much. And so the new person here, they came, you know, what do you do, where you come from, what are you doing, where are you going, you know. So I told them the story. He's from Poland, he wants to leave Poland, and he heard about Israel, but he came to see if it's true. He has his wife and 3 small children. So, and the people right away saw that he's a very intelligent, he's learning, he's a very smart man. And so one of the people there said, you know, I want to take you to our chief rabbi in Bratislava, because you're a man, he will like you, you know, and he will probably can help you. I guess, okay, so the last day that he was in the Bratislava, before he planned to go home, because my mother was expecting, I think it was the 3rd or the 4th child, you know. And okay, my father came and he asked them all questions, you know. Why do you want to go to Israel? Many of those Orthodox Jews were against Israel. And like the rabbi told him, when Mashiach will come, they will all go to Eretz Israel, you know. So he came the following day. This was the day before he went home, you know, to tell his wife, come, let's pack and let's go to Eretz Israel. But so the last minutes, you know, the rabbi asked my father, tell me, what are you doing for a living? You say you have 3 or 4 children. Nothing, I'm ready to do anything work the fields, anything, just to leave, Poland, So he said, listen, if you ever want to be a shochet, come to Bratislava. I will be the first to eat from your shchita. For my father, this was like the world opened up for him, So he went home, and he told the whole story to his wife. She said, listen, why should we go all to Eretz Israel? It's a little bit too far. Let's go to Bratislava. Our situation will get a little better. We can continue, but not right away to rush so far away until Eretz Israel. He said, okay. And they went to Bratislava.
Shoshana, can I just mention, the Chofetz Chaim, in the 20s, he wanted to go very much to Eretz Israel, the Chofetz Chaim. And also the Talmidim of the Gra.
I know that was a story. They came, right? All the rabbis were.
But there were the Chofetz Chaim really wanted to come. But Shoshana, can I just ask you, what year were you born?
28.
20, and you were born in Bratislava?
Yeah.
So your father came with his wife and...
with the children. They came to Bratislava. He right away said they gave him a little apartment, which I still remember, You
remember the apartment?
Yeah, I still remember that, and a few stories. Because, every year there was a child. So my brother, Simcha, who was a year older than me, we were just very good friends, did everything together. Only one thing he didn't like when he grew up a little. He didn't want to, when he speaks to his friends at the street, I shouldn't come and be involved, That's how they looked at the girls, at the woman. It's very bad, And so how many years ago it was, my brother Simcha, my brother Ossi, my youngest brother, he planned a bar mitzvah for his son. But something happened, there was a very big strike in Bratislava already, and it fell through. But I remember I wrote a whole book, I still have it, about stories about the family. Of each brother, we were 6 brothers and 4 girls.
And do you remember going to school and...
yeah, sure.
Was it a Jewish school that you went to?
Jewish school.
And you remember the synagogue?
Everything, I remember. I was, I had a sister, she was 1 year younger. She was a complete different type. Not religious, not davening, And sometimes I heard my father say, I don't know how 2 daughters, just 1 year difference, and such a big difference. I was a girl, very religious, And for me, Kibud Av Ve'em, was the biggest thing,
Honoring one parents. Yeah.
And my sister, she was a different type.
And did you have any non-Jewish friends, or were you mainly mixed within the Jewish community?
No, there I didn't have non-Jewish friends.
And did you ever experience any anti-Jewish feeling on the streets or in Bratislava?
Later,
But not when you were growing
up? No.
And then when did things start to change?
Sorry?
When the war broke out?
With the war, we got to almost to Auschwitz. I mean, we were already in, no.
You had to leave your home? You had to leave your home?
We were we lived in Bratislava. But every few weeks there were transports, the Germans sent people to Auschwitz. by the time it was like our turn to get out, the war was over. The Germans ran away, and we came back to Bratislava.
And where did you go that you survived? How did you manage to survive?
Oh, I'm telling, we were hiding. We were hiding in a very under the earth somewhere. There was it's a whole story, but it's written in the book.
No, but if you can mention a bit what you remember.
Everything.
So
Everything.
Who took you in?
I was already 10, 12 years old, you know?
Yeah.
And then you were very mature because you were responsible for the little children in the house, you know?
And Shoshana, your family, when you went into hiding, because you hid many times.
My father passed away. Like my mother said, thank God, because it was very different. My father was very religious man, you know, and he to become mixed with women or even talk to them. So, but in the bunker, we were in the bunker therefore, and I used to go at least every 2-3 days in the evening when it got dark to do a little shopping. We were in this bunker, I think 14 people.
And you still remember the bunker?
Sure.
In whose place did you hide? Was it...
Sorry?
It was non-Jewish people in their homes?
No. Yeah, I mean, the people who were hiding us, you know, this is a small extra story. At that time, the Germans wanted to make an underground highway from out of town to Bratislava, near the Jewish cemetery. So they came to the Jewish people and said, listen, those are our plans. We can give you a month to take out to dislocate the cemetery to a new place, because there were some very famous people buried there. And Simcha, my brother, who was besach hakol a year and a half older than me, he became the head because there were no Jews. I mean, very few.
Because a lot were already deported.
And also the rest of, this was the last people to Auschwitz. When we were hiding, we were just lucky.
And it was your mother was the one?
My mother and 4 brothers. My father died just a short while.
And your sister?
And I remember people would say, if Rav Moshe, this was my father, passed away so suddenly, that's a terrible sign for us. So, you know, to grow up, and of course, never too much money, you know, but we never asked. If there was bread in the house, if there was no bread.
And do you remember being very hungry?
Sure.
And you had to go from one bunker to another. You were always...
We were, but then we were back to the first bunker, and I had no choice. I had to go out. As soon as it got a little dark, I went to a place where we could buy on the black market. Lucky we had money, you know. It's not that we had money. Simcha, my brother, got... they looked for him, and he went in the evenings to visit people, because people they thought it will take, you know, a few weeks, and first it took a long time. And with little children to bring a bunker, and winter came, you know, and food got scarce, you know. It was very, very hard times in the bunker, but we survived at least. until that evening, but somebody must have given away because we were underground, there was a hole. We had to go down through a sulam.
A ladder?
A ladder to go down. So then we heard already that people who lived in this place 20 years earlier, the water, when it was raining, that was near a har,
A mountain.
Yeah, this Ratshina, and the water came down there, and the people, so somebody told them, you must look how to get rid of the water, the rain, that came in, because it was just at the beginning of that bunker, So it was very ratuv, and it was
very
terrible.
wet, very wet
and cold, This was a winter of 43, 44.
And
it was and it got every day more difficult to get food, There were just no Jews in Bratislava, only the few who were hiding.
And
all the Jews are sent away already.
Did you already know that a lot of the Yidden were taken away?
Of course, we lived among them. You could not know,
You must have been so scared all the time.
Okay. Until one evening, it was a Friday night, my mother had just lit candles for Shabbat.
In the bunker?
In the bunker. And suddenly they heard a big knocking on the upper floor. And sure enough, police, somebody must have given away, And they found us, and that's how we were taken away, the whole family. We had already a feeling, because we saw police very much goes around this place.
And was this the Slovakian police?
Yeah.
It wasn't the German.
Germans, yeah.
Germans.
Were there
also Slovakians?
Slovakians, they were more sent to the front to fight,
So what happened? Do you remember that night when the Germans knocked on the door?
Sure. Okay, but the story is, I wasn't there. I told you what happened. We had a feeling that the Germans know about our hiding, because they came too often, to see, walking around the street, if somebody like Jew, would come there. And we had the feeling that they know that there are people hiding. So we had a family. He was a shoester, he made shoes, also new and repair also. We came to somebody to know him, because he said that, I think it doesn't matter, somebody asked him if you could help somehow the Jews, He said, I will help whatever I can. So sure enough, when we had to leave our apartment and to be in the winter where all the water came in, was very, very hard living, And we saw that the Germans or police were walking around this place all the time. We knew that they had an idea that somebody is hiding in this place, in this neighborhood there. So yeah. First we sent my mother and my little brother to this shoemaker. He was out of town a little. and right away to pay, you know. And then Friday came, and my brothers, we were there, my two brothers, Simcha and David, and my sister Chava and I. I was about 14 years old. Chava a year younger, Simcha a year older, you know. So but then this was already a few days past, and we didn't see that they looked around too much, the Germans. So we thought maybe they forgot about us, you know. So my brother sent me out of town to tell my mother to come back. You know, because a few days passed and they didn't look for us, or very little, you know. And I went there. It took me a long time. So the woman the Goethe I stayed at her house. She said, listen, you can't go, it's bad weather. It was raining all the time.
This was the non-Jewish woman?
Non-Jewish, yeah. Stay here. Your mother will get home, so she will be with your brothers and Chava, my sister. And you stay here. So I already agreed with my brother that if it's getting late and the weather will be very bad, I'm not coming back. So I stayed there, and that night, suddenly, my mother was just lighting candles in the Shoshana in the bunker, you know, when they heard the knocking on the door. Simcha, my brother, wanted to blow out the candles, but my mother said no, we will never blow out candles. And sure enough, they came in, they looked around, they had already an idea to look under the floor, you know, and sure enough, they saw from one in the corner, a little light, you know, came up. So that's how my mother, and how many, 4 brothers, 2 brothers, 3 brothers and 1 sister have been found there. There were more people, but they found a place to hide. They said, I will go away for the weekend, you know, and not to be here, you know. And this was their mother.
And then what did they do? They took your
So they took, I wasn't there. I was out of town, you know.
With the non-Jewish lady?
The next evening, I was waiting to be already, to go to see my brothers, my mother, you know. And right as when it got dark a little, I went home, kind of, you know. I knocked at the door. Nobody answered. I said, this is impossible, because they never left the house. So that if somebody comes, you know, we can tell them, you know, there's nobody here. So the Germans opened the door, and they knew in this corner, go to this certain corner, there is a hole in the Adama, you know,
on the ground.
And get down there, they are hiding. And that's what happened. My mother and my brother, when they heard the knocking on the door, they realized this is not a plain knocking, you know. He wanted to blow out the candles. My mother wouldn't let him.
And they were deported?
Hmm?
What happened to your mother and your brothers? They were
taken to the camp. But 2 weeks later, I was also caught, but I was very happy to be with my mother together. I didn't care that they would send me to the camps. First of all, we didn't know exactly what's happening in the camps.
And which camp did you go to?
Okay, they took us all the camps, the Auschwitz was already bombed, you know. It wasn't, no.
This was near the end of the war.
Yeah.
And they were losing.
Yeah.
The Germans were losing.
Sure, they knew it that they were losing.
They were determined to still find Jews.
העיקר, my mother and my brothers came to this Goya where I was going to tell her to come back, you know, and we stayed at the Goya. And okay, how was I called? I don't remember anymore. I went back because I didn't know where my mother, where they went. To our home, they couldn't go because this was a very Goyish, it wasn't the Judengasse, but at that time there were no Jews and everything full with the Goyim, you know. Okay, so I'll make it short now. They were and I was caught a week later.
Do you remember how you were caught?
Sure, I remember. Just a minute. I'm just thinking. It was a very big problem for me because our hiding place was at this Goya, at this shoemaker's home, you know. So I was at the shoemaker's home, but my mother and my brothers disappeared. Then, as to now, how was I caught? Let me think. I should look it up, but you know, a few years passed, you know. I have the whole story here. Yeah, I came back when it got dark, Sabbath evening. I came back, you know, and I knocked on the door, and knock. There was no answer. They ran away from the house. They ran away from their apartment because you know, there was this propaganda on the radio. Wherever there will be found Jews, they will kill the Goyish family.
The non-Jews, if the Jews are,
yeah,
if they're helping Jews, they'll kill the non-Jews as well.
So, so here I was alone, and where did I go? I didn't want to stay there in this hole, you know, all by myself, because other two families, the Steiner family, they left to some friends, you know. Not friends, but Makarim, whom they knew, yeah. They knew that somebody will come and look for that bunker, you know, they knew it. And they all the time a soldier, but not as a soldier, you know, going around there, because they knew some more people will come there. And that's how I was caught.
Wow. And you were taken to the camp where your mother was?
Yeah.
And do you remember seeing your mother again?
Yeah, sure.
You must have been very happy to see her, that she was alive.
Believe me. Very happy.
And how long did you stay in the camp? Was it?
So we were in Sered, which is a small camp in Slovakia. No.
What was the name of the camp?
I knew this camp because about 3 years earlier, you know, the Germans said they had to make the people the Jews, before they sent them to Auschwitz, they wrote in the newspaper, I think, that they are doing a kind of a favor to the Jews, you know, giving them food and everything. So what happened was, that they said there must be people there. And that night, when they came and they called them, my family disappeared. They didn't go back, slept, you know, somewhere. And I went to this Schuster's, you know, so to this man who took care, you know. Until one day, she had sent, I think, a child, you know, to our place, because I didn't hear from my brothers some davar. Ha'ikar, I found out that one evening the Germans came and they arrived. It was a Friday night. My mother had lit candles for Shabbat.
And they didn't take out the candle.
No. And here they heard a knock on the door, which was not a plain knock, you know. And my brother wanted to blow out the candles. My mother didn't let him.
It's a pity because that... So, you know, I'll just mention, Shoshana, when you was with your mother in the camp, how long were you in that camp?
About, in Sered.
Sered.
This was a camp in Slovakia.
Yeah, in Sered.
You see, Sered, there were 3 camps that the Germans opened up. Sered and 2 more, you know, around in Slovakia. Until they decided to liquidate all the Jews, so there were 3 camps: Sered, Nove Mesto nad Váhom, and another third, I don't remember the name. And they were taken to this camp. With the Sered, it was about, I think, 2 hours fare from Bratislava.
Wow.
That means I'm thinking, how was I caught? Because I told you, I wasn't there. Simcha, my brothers, had sent me on Friday to tell my mother to come back, because we were afraid that they had an idea that there's a underground bunker, you know.
But you know, I just want to mention, Shoshana, in your book, Childhood Lost, you said that you dedicate the book to your sister Frida and her 7-year-old son Freddie, both killed in Auschwitz. Your sister Frida.
No, I'm telling you, they were taken with all the Jews in November.
And this was November 44.
They took all the Jews.
And your sister was one of them?
And my sister with
her 7-year-old son?
Yeah.
Yes, Freddie. And your sister Golda?
She was not married.
But she had typhoid. She died from typhoid.
She went earlier that year, and there it's all written, you know. There's a whole group. I got a book or some information from how do you call this organization? I will tell you in a minute. There they speak a lot about that night when the Germans with the Slovaks together went from apartment to apartment, took everybody. They didn't ask for papers. So then that's where my mother and my brothers and Chava, my sister, were caught.
Yeah. And also your brother Mordechai, who was 10 years old.
Yeah.
They were killed in orphanage. They were in the orphanage in Bratislava, and they came and they took.
He was 4 years old then.
He was 4. Wow.
He was caught when he was 4 years old.
Wow.
I know that when we got to the camp, my mother. We tried to find out where the children. We didn't see any children. So the people there told us just a week or 2 weeks ago, the Germans took all the children straight to Auschwitz.
Also from the orphanage?
Yeah.
And Shoshana, if you can just show, this is a picture. I just want to show the picture of you. This is a beautiful picture. No, you can sit, Shoshana.
Okay, Hine. This is my mother.
So if we can just lift up, this is a beautiful picture of your mother.
Yeah.
And your mother.
My mother. This is me.
We just want to show you.
This is my father. But he died a short while ago then.
Your father was Moshe?
Moshe again.
And your mom was, your mother was?
Elka Bracha. Okay. And this is my little brother. No. This is Menachem. Menachem is a little boy whom we brought to a Goya. This is also a whole story, to hide. This where we are here is when I took him already after the war to Israel.
And he survived because a non-Jewish woman.
He lives today.
Wow.
Yeah, sure.
And this is
him also, Menachem. This is Menachem.
We're just going to show the picture.
Yes, no. And this here is my 2 brothers, and that's me, Simcha and Ossi.
It is beautiful. And then this is in the grave in 1992. You went to Bratislava in 92.
Yeah. All right. This was on a visit already a few months later.
Was it very hard to go back to Bratislava?
No, we were happy that we lived to go back, And this is the cemetery, my family.
If we could just show the picture, Shoshana.
Sure.
Wow. It's a beautiful picture.
What is it?
No, it's all good. It's a beautiful picture. Wow. And then underneath is.
This is the entrance to the camp. Then after the war, we went to Sered. We went to Sered.
And how did you find going back to Sered, to the camp?
How did you find it? You don't ask yourself,
But the memories, all the memories must have been coming.
Sure. But we were glad that we were there, you see. This is with a white blouse, that's me. And this is my sister-in-law, Ruthie. And all them, not all of them were in camp, but we were in the camp. You see, I knew about half a year before this happened, We learned in school about terrorism.
Wow. So
when I came there, I already knew where everything was, This terrorism.
Terezin. From there you were sent to Terezin.
Yeah.
That is in Czechoslovakia.
Yeah, Terezin, Czechoslovakia. And in school, when I went in school still, just before the end, we couldn't go to school anymore, we learned about Terezin. Terezin was a place, a small, a new village, Masaryk. When they caught people who were against Masaryk, He didn't kill them all, no. He built about 2-3 years earlier, before the end of the war, he put up a small village called Terezin. I don't know why it was called Terezin. The neighbor's neighborhood was called Terezin. And I have learned about Terezin. And when we came to there, during the war, I knew exactly which street lived here and there,
And how were the conditions in
and not bad. Every apartment, we were my mother, my sister, and 2 brothers. 5 people. We had a nice apartment with 1 room, but it was very nice, and bathroom and everything. And our neighbors were a family not from Bratislava, also from Slovakia, and he was a dentist. And he just saved my life, because as we were there, I got terrible problem with the tooth. And there was the order was the dentist who was there, a Jew, you can take out the tooth, not work on it or do or blah.
Just extract.
Yeah, just take it out. So when I told my neighbor, who was our mama's next, we lived in 1 apartment, 2 families. They were not from Bratislava, but they came earlier there, and then one of the rooms they gave us. And we were very good, friendly, When I told him he should look at my teeth. He said, Shoshana, that's one thing, I have to take it out. That's all he can do for me. But, and I still today remember, he had to do some work here, and he didn't have time. I had to come between 12 and 1 o'clock. He was, this dentistry was open only for the German soldiers who worked there, So I couldn't, but he told me, come between 12 and 1. That's when the Germans go for lunch. He will see what he can help me with the tooth, because I had terrible pain. And he said, Shoshana, nothing, I have to take it out. And he couldn't even give me nothing, and he just took it. I remember.
Without any anesthetic? And you still remember it today?
And how very painful.
And how old were you at this time, Shoshana?
Sorry?
How old were you at this time?
Okay, it was in 42, right?
44, 45, near the end of the war.
Yeah,
44, 45.
Yeah.
44, the end of 44.
Yeah, 44, I think, 45, yeah. I was 15 years old. I was born in 28.
And Shoshana, how long were you in Theresienstadt? Do you remember how many months?
A few months, about 2-3 months. It was a very nice place.
This was near the end of the war?
But not only this, Masaryk put up this town, Terezin. I was in school still when I learned about
so it wasn't foreign?
In a few months you will be there,
And do you remember being liberated? Do you remember the Russian army coming in?
Of course. Early morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, we hear noise, terrible noise. That's when the Russians came in. But they didn't bother us, only that there was no food. Even for the Russians, There was it was very tough. But we had a lovely apartment, which we shared with the dentist. It was my mother, the dentist. We are our neighbors, and he told me, you can do anything but take out the tooth.
And Shoshana, from there, after the war, Did you went back to Bratislava, to your home?
Sure.
And how long were you staying? Your home was still there? No one had taken it over? Was it still empty when you came back?
Yeah, because all Jews were not there. All Jews were sent away, and...
But you didn't want to live in Bratislava now?
No, because I wanted to go to Israel, They started.
And what happened to the shul and the school?
Nothing, there were no people to go there. There were no Jews.
Did they destroy the shul?
No, why should I destroy it? There were no people to go to shul.
And when you went back to Bratislava, is the shul still there today?
Yeah.
So how long did you stay in Bratislava before you...
Because then, they opened the Bnei Akiva or the Bnei Akiva and
the youth movements.
They opened up, the activities, But until I decided, and Menachem, my sister's child, who by chance that evening we took him, she got my sister, Frida, she had 2 boys, 2 years and 4 years. And she found an address from a Goya who was ready for money to hide them. So I went with her to the place. That's how I went to go to visit Menachem. Still under the Germans, And until I was caught there,
And let me just ask you, Shoshana, it's very hard. When you came back to Bratislava with your mother and your brothers, and you found out that your unfortunately, that your sister Frida wasn't. It must have been very difficult.
Very difficult.
Your mother must have been. How did she cope, knowing that you?
Listen, thank God that she had some more children. We were 11 children. 4 died in the camps.
In Auschwitz?
In Auschwitz.
And how did you know that they died and they never survived?
Because the Jews got all the information, which transport was evacuated then and which then, the dates.
The Germans kept very particular, they were very pedantic in keeping all the documents.
Exactly.
And they documented everybody.
Yeah, but I wasn't interested. When I left, I said, sei mir gesund, I don't want to know about you. And that's it.
And then you went on the youth
to Israel.
And this, what year did you start?
Yeah.
What was before? It was before the state was established.
No, when the war was over.
Yeah, but was it very difficult times after the war as well?
Yeah.
It must have been very hard.
But listen, we were so happy that few were left. Lucky we were 11 children. That's how some were left.
And
Menachem was my sister's son. She had 2 boys.
Your brother Mordechai, and he was also killed, and Golda, she died of typhus.
Golda was taken with the girls. No, there's a list of 1,000 girls that the Germans had sent early before they sent the Jews there to prepare the camp. Until she died there of...
typhus. She got typhus.
Yeah.
Wow. And your mother, did she also eventually come to Israel?
Yeah.
So your whole family?
We didn't want to stay there, man. you know, few and fewer people left, and some went to America, some went to Israel. I right away became very active for Bnei Akiva. So I went to Israel through Bnei Akiva and took Menachem with me.
And what about your younger sister? What happened to your younger sister, who was a year younger than you?
Oh no, she died after the war.
She died after the war?
She and my mother got me 4 children, David, Simcha, Chava, and Mordechai. They were the 4 children who went to Auschwitz. Lucky they came late, you know. They didn't have time, the Germans, to kill them all. So they survived the war.
So I'm just going to sit with you a little bit. Wow. And Shoshana, you were happy that you came to Israel?
Oh, sure. I mean, it was very hard. But I went to a kibbutz and I got married.
Wow. Shoshana, I'm just going to resist over here.
You want to show me?
I just want to show you. I'm just going to go here. So Shoshana, it's remarkable, and your book is something very, very special. But I just want to read. This is your incredible book that I highly, highly recommend.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to thank you so much for giving over your story and your life and your journey and your what happened to your dear family. But you write something amazing, Shoshana. You write, we Jews are a small but ancient nation.
Yeah.
It had continued throughout the years because of its memories and heritage. One of the sources of our survivals over the time has been our maintaining the biblical decree, remember and do not forget.
Right.
Lizkor, to remember and not forget. Remember, we must never forget or allow the memory of the long list of tragedies that befell us to fade away and become merely another historical episode. I hope and pray that keeping alive the memory of the Nazi brutality and the suffering of our brothers and sisters, we can say never again, much never again, to any future tragedy of the Jewish nation. It's a remarkable, and you know, the memory of your dear family that were sent to the camps, to Auschwitz, may their memory be for eternal blessing. And thank God you came to Israel and you started a family, Shoshana, and it's wonderful that you started a new life.
Sure.
And Am Yisrael Chad, the nation of Israel lives, and you are a testimony. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so grateful. It's the greatest honor and privilege to meet you. And your book, Childhood Lost, you really did lose a childhood, but you gained.
I'm giving you a gift.
Shoshana, it's very kind of you. Thank you so much. So it's been the greatest honor and privilege, Shoshana. Please God, at Stream in good health and only mazel and bracha.
Thank you, Shoshana. Single was my born, and Brayer I got married to.
Baruch Hashem. But thank you so much, Shoshana. I really appreciate it. And you should just be healthy and well, and only have the only good things.
Thank you.